Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols, and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth. And today I found a Bible at a secondhand store that I'd really like to see come back into print. This is the New King James Reader's Reference Bible, and this was put out by Holman. Now, Holman no longer prints the NKJV, so it would be up to Thomas Nelson if they were to do it in this translation, but this is Holman's concept, so they could do it in the CSB or even the KJV. But what it does is it shows the relationship between the New and the Old Testament using some blue accents, and this is really cool. So first of all, if you know me, you know I do not like dust jackets, so go ahead and take the dust jacket off, and looky there, boom. This Bible looks identical without the dust jacket. I always love that. Really nice hardback paper liner. You can see it's tape reinforced. Really nice bright blue paper liner. Really think that's pretty. And in the beginning, you got your presentation page. You got your title page, copyright page. This is a first edition printed in 2016, so this has been out of print for several years. Of course, your table of contents, but then you have a little short preface to the New King James Version, and then you have an introduction on how to use this Reader's Reference Bible edition. I'm not exactly positive the font size of this because out of print, this appears to be about a 9-point font. This is in single column paragraph format. Now, where this really stands out is as you're reading the text, you're going to see this little flower apple-y looking thing. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but when you see that, it lets you know there's going to be a reference right here in blue. You notice how John 1 resembles Genesis 1. So you see the correlation there. And as you keep going, there's some other really cool features about this. First of all, you ever see the little symbol there? You know there's going to be references to the New Testament. Also, whenever you see this, where you see the blue inside the text, you know that that is quoted in the other testament. And then that reference is going to be right here in Mark chapter 10, verse 6. So I thought that was really neat. There are no real textual footnotes. This isn't really a study Bible, but it is a study system that helps you see the correlation between the Old and the New Testaments. So I really thought that was nice. And when you get into like Psalms, where there's a lot of prophetic, like let's go to Psalm 22, because Psalm 22 is one of the more New Testament prophetic Psalms that you're going to see. As you see Psalm 22, number one, you're going to see that in blue. My God, why have you forsaken me? That is quoted in the New Testament. And you're going to see that it's quoted in Matthew chapter 27, verse 46, and Mark chapter 15, verse 34. So whenever it's in the body of the text, you know that is a direct New Testament quote, and this shows where it's quoted. But whenever there's a concept that is cross-referenced into the New Testament, you're going to see this out in that outer column. I really think this is cool. So now let's get into the New Testament, because this has got some features that the New King James used to have that it no longer has if it's printed by Thomas Nelson. And this is something I'd kind of like to see them bring back, but I also understand why they don't do it anymore. Because you know, whenever there's a supplied word in the New King James, for example, this right here, you can see that's italicized. Originally, when the New King James first came out, whenever there was an Old Testament verse quoted, they would do something called oblique text. Now, oblique and italics look very similar. So I guess the publishers at Thomas Nelson thought this seemed a little confusing. So they have in the Thomas Nelson editions done away with that oblique text. If you like that oblique text, it is still in print. You can get it in the NKJV Quintel from Schuyler. And also what's really neat about it is when it's in the body of the text in the New Testament, it's going to have that oblique text because you're quoting the Old Testament, and it's also going to give you that reference to the Old Testament verse that's being quoted here. And then also the same, whenever you see an Old Testament cross-reference, you're going to see that little symbol there, and then you're going to see that Old Testament verse right there. So what you have is you have the benefit of a smooth reading experience. You can just read this beautiful, nice single-column format, and then instead of having to flip back and forth and go to your cross-references, they're available right here. And then in the body of your text, you know when another testament is being quoted. So it shows the relationship, say for example, between the prophecies fulfilled by Jesus to their Old Testament counterparts and vice versa. So this is really, really a cool edition. I can't believe this thing's not in print anymore, but let's go ahead and look at the back, check out some more resources. And then of course, as you get in the book of Acts, you'll see some Old Testament quotes there. Just really, really neat stuff. So once we get to the end of the book of Revelation, there's not much after it. You just have a couple of blank pages. You have your really nice Holman cardstock maps. Of course, you have your paper liner. This is a very, very cool edition. And this is something I think it's worth bringing back into print. So Holman, if you're hearing me, bring this thing out in the CSB. And Thomas Nelson, if you're hearing me, print this thing in the New King James. Bring this into the Maclaren family because it already has the blue accents. This will be a really cool addition. God bless you. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nicholsworth.